Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Ultimate Book Club of Book Clubs. This time around, we're going to be discussing Snapdragons, which just released at the beginning of this month. We haven't convened the book club since the Best of Friends came out at the beginning of the year, but here we go. All right. To get started, I'm going to start with the question I always start with. Let me know where you are checking in from. I always do a prize for the person who is joining us from the closest to where I am currently streaming from, and a prize to the person who checks in from the farthest away. This video will stay up on Facebook and on YouTube after the stream is over. So if you're watching us after the fact, go ahead and pop into the comments and let us know where you're coming from. And the prize we have this time for our farthest away and closest to me winners is a set of stickers that are connected to this book. They're gents themed stickers. We got our gents themselves and each of the couples thus far. So lots of fun things. Some neat postcards and a gents tote bag. Isn't that cute? So that's what we're giving away for the person closest to me and the person furthest from me. But leave your comments. You may find someone in the comments who lives near you and you can start your own book club. So go ahead and leave those. We're going to watch those. Any of them that are drawn after the stream is over, we'll announce tomorrow. So keep an eye on my Facebook and my Instagram. We also have a prize that will be given away to just a random commenter throughout this entire stream. And I'm really excited about that prize. I'm going to be giving away a set of the Proper Romance Collector's Editions that exist so far. We have the Collector's Edition of Edenbrook by Julianne Donaldson, the Collector's Edition of Summerhaven by Tiffany Odekirk. This one just came out. And the Collector's Edition of Ashes on the Moor by yours truly. So that will go to one lucky winner who comments during this stream. So go ahead and participate, play along with the games, ask questions when I get to the question and answer part. We'll draw a winner and announce that tomorrow. So there you go. That's our fun big prize for tonight. For these fun book clubs, I like to give you some behind the scenes information about the books, and I'll answer questions later on. We have some fun games to play. Because we had two gents books come out in really close succession, I'm going to kind of cover both of them. Last month we had Snowdrops and Winterberry, which was a re-release of The Holly and the Ivy, which came out in an anthology a few years ago, but it included a bonus epilogue and some extra content. This is a story of a Christmas get-together not long after Lucas and Julia are married in Forget-Me-Not. It also features little boy Adam, Duke of Kildare, so that's really fun. So I'm going to share a little bit about that while we get going. A fun thing about this book, there are a couple of things that are mentioned in it that are based either based in history or that actually continue through the series that you might not realize that I laid the groundwork for, knowing this book would eventually come. So like it was all set up to work out. One is Julia reads Adam a story that she then gives him the book as a Christmas present. And that book was called Goody Two Shoes. This is actually a 1906 edition of that book, but the book was originally published in 1765. So I have a much newer version of it. It's still about 120 years old, which is kind of fantastic, but it's the story that she would have read to him. And we find out in the epilogue that Adam carries that book with him all the time. He has it with him even though he's outgrown the stories, it's a reminder of being loved by Lucas and Julia. So I have that book and I actually have read it, and it's cute and it's fun. Another thing that shows up in that book, Howard, who is Nurse Robbie's love interest in Snowdrops and Winterberry, carves Adam a horse for Christmas. It's the gift that he gives him. And we find out in the epilogue that Adam also carries that horse around with him. He has it with him, even at school as a teenager, which doesn't seem like an Adam thing to do. And yet, when you think about it, very much feels like an Adam thing to do, because he does cling to those tokens, those reassurances that he's loved and cared about. So of course he would have it with him. And if anyone made fun of him, he just beat them up. So like, problem solved, right? I had someone ask after this one came out, they said they wondered if Adam still had that horse, still carried it around with him. So I'm going to read to you an excerpt from Charming Artemis, which came out in 2021, I believe. So a few years ago, where you can learn a little bit about that. It came out before this one, but here you go. The Duke, and that's Adam. The Duke stepped off the small back terrace Oliver held in his arms and walked directly to Charlie, then motioned him onward. Walk with me. His Grace never did make a request that sounded the least optional. Charlie obeyed. Oliver was not sleeping, but looked quite as if he might. The Duke pulled a small carved horse, one a bit worse for the wear, from his pocket and gave it to his son. Oliver clutched it to himself, then rested more heavily against his father. So the question, does Adam still have that horse? You bet he does. And it's something that he lets his own children have and get comfort from. So yes. Fantastic. So there you are. So that does show up. He does still have it. So there's some answers there. So if you haven't read this one yet, hop on, read it. It's some great insights into Adam, into Lucas and Julia. The events of this novella are mentioned in Lily of the Valley, the second Gents book. So it all kind of ties in together, which is fantastic. So there you go. Oh, yay. Some people are really happy to hear that Adam still has his horse. Of course he does. That's something that means a lot to him. So there you go. All right. So then a little bit of research insights for Snapdragon. And I have the little ticker tape going along the bottom, just to remind you, there are absolutely going to be spoilers in this from this book. So if you haven't read it yet, this video will stay up on my social media. You can come back and watch it later, but spoilers, here we go. One of my absolute favorite research resources for this book was a book that was published a very, very, very long time ago. I should have looked at the publication date before we started. It's in the very early in 1812. So 1812. It was The History of Pugilism, and it talks about the history of boxing, essentially, in the British Isles up to 1812. And this was such a fantastic resource because it was written more or less at the time about things that had just happened. So throughout this book, we learn a lot about Niles's career as a boxer, which he does in disguise under a pseudonym. And it's a lot of mentions are in there of different boxers and different boxing matches, and every single one of them, except for the ones Niles fights, because he's my made-up character, every single one of them was real and actually happened. Even the very famous pugilist that he fights in this book, it was a real pugilist at the time. And I learned from this book how that boxer fought, what his strengths were, what his track record was. So when they talk to Niles about, oh, you're going to have to prepare for this boxer this way, and you're going to have to prepare for this way, it's based on the actual boxer, the Butcher of Bath. His last name was Martin. He's mentioned in here as having fought a fight with a boxer named Humphreys, who I think I also mentioned in the book. And how it was one of the most well-attended boxing matches to be held up to that point. It was in 1786, so a couple of years, well, not even 2 years, a year and a half before this one takes place. And it's why the idea of him fighting this boxer is so terrifying, because he's in his prime and he's still fighting with a tremendous, ability. I also used this book to find out what a reasonable amount of prize money would have been for a boxing match featuring fighters on their level in this area at this time. I also looked through this to find out the rules of bare knuckle fighting at the time and how they prepared for things. So Great research. It was so much fun. I set a rule for myself that other than the matches that Niles supposedly fought in, every single other one mentioned would be a real one that was actually fought. So that was really fun. So there you go. Another thing that was really fun to include in this book, because I included in all of them, is food. Because I think it adds a whole like fun dimension to stories when you include food that people would have eaten at the time. I posted a video to my social media a little while ago cooking a dish called peas porridge, which is one of our favorites. We love it. It's mentioned in this book. There's also another food there are actually several that are mentioned, but one of them is Cornish fairings was mentioned in there as well. So I'm going to toss out to you guys to see who can remember what Cornish fairings were. They were mentioned in the book. And the first person I see who gets it right is going to win a copy of the Fiction Kitchen Trio cookbook and a recipe for Cornish fairings. So we'll see who can pop that in there and give us the first right answer to remember what a Cornish fairing is. Oh, someone's already got it. Kelsey. Kelsey is the first one I saw. I'm going to apologize now because I don't know how to pronounce your last name. It's spelled Dicou. I'm going to pop it on here so we can see it. Ginger biscuits. It's a cookie is what we would call it. So there you go. So she's going to win Fiction Kitchen Trio cookbook. Fantastic. Oh, a lot of you remembered. Yay. Yeah, so it's the version of this type of biscuit that comes out of Cornwall. A little earlier up on here, we had a comment saying the boxing aspect of Niles was so unexpected, but so appreciated. Don't you love that? I love those sort of hidden things about people that we don't really see. And it's not something that we would have heard about in earlier books because it was such a well-guarded secret, because gentlemen at this time couldn't box for prize money. To be like a professional competitive boxer was really frowned on. So he had to keep that very much a secret. So that's why he fought under the sobriquet of the Cornish Duke, which is pretty fun. Okay, so we've done that. We've given away a prize. Now we're going to play a game. This is everyone's favorite game, I think. This is the emoji game. I play it every single time we do these book clubs. Let me pull up. There they are. I asked on my social media yesterday for people to leave a comment on the post using just emojis. Give me clues to one of my books. It could be a clue that literally kind of spells out the title, or it can be stuff from the story. But I'm going to pop those up. And I just grabbed them at random without really looking at them. So I don't know what's in them, and we'll see if I can guess. I usually can. Sometimes I have to cheat and look at the comments. So feel free to play along. At some point during this emoji game, I'm going to pick someone at random to win a prize, and I'll show you what it is. And after the stream is all over, sometime tomorrow, we're going to come on and choose a winner of a second prize from among people who played the game. So go ahead and play along. So let's look at our first one. Okay. So I'm going to just describe what's on it for those who are either just listening or can't see the screen. Looks like a letter with a heart on it, a crutch, a house, a glove, a prosthetic leg. Okay, I know what it is now. A celebration emoji, a ship, a sad emoji, rain clouds, a kiss emoji, and a sheep. And I know which one this one is. I knew with the prosthetic limb, it has to be for love or honor, right? Because Stanley has a prosthetic limb. And the rest of it makes sense too. Letters, because tons of those were exchanged. A crutch, Stanley used a walking stick because of his amputation. Glove, there was a whole storyline around his gloves. Celebration, that's got to be the gathering that Margie arranges. The ship, he was going to be leaving on a ship, so they're all very sad. But then he returns in the rain, and they smooch and go live with sheep, which is, sadly enough, a very good way of describing it. All right, so woohoo! Let's try the next one. Okay, a dog, little paw prints, a coin, someone on a horse, a boxing glove, a heart, and a church. Okay, this one's got to be Snapdragons, right? Because it's puppy. I'm guessing the footprints is because he ran away, right? I'm guessing the coins are because he needed money, maybe. Horses and horse racing because Penelope wanted to start her own horse breeding and horse training estate. Boxing gloves because he was a pugilist. Hearts because they fall in love and they do get married at the end. So I think that's that one. I'm going to pop over and see if people are guessing these right in the comments. Let's see. I'm going to hop on down. Okay, I'm going to pick someone at random who caught on that was Snapdragons. Okay, oh, here we go. All right, so the handle is Be Happy over on YouTube. And she guessed correctly that this was Snapdragons. So the prize I have for you, and I will post these winners tomorrow so you don't have to try to remember, is a copy of Snapdragons. I'll even sign it. If you already have a copy, you can get this for someone for Christmas or trade yours out. But I'm also sending with it a collection of British sweets that are very common over there. Maltesers and Curly Whirlies and Maltesers and Cadbury Flake. Yeah, it's going to be great. So that's your prize. That's going to come out to you. We'll post tomorrow so that you remember. So yay, playing along. Okay. So keep playing because we're going to choose a random participant from the rest of the game, and they are going to win. I have to keep checking. We have, oh, okay. So someone who's playing along with us is going to be chosen to win what I'm calling a surprise prize. This is what it is. It's a prize, and you don't know what, but it's something really cool. So surprise prize to someone who's playing along. That'll be announced tomorrow. So let's see what our next one is. All right. This is me trying to remember what all I'm doing. I don't remember how to take that off of the screen. Okay, oh, here we go. I got it. Okay, guys, sometimes I make this too complicated for my own good. Okay, here's another one. Okay, so it's like a thinking emoji, a little girl emoji, a ring, money, and a heart. Man, I have no idea. It could kind of be seeking Persephone because he does pay a whole heck of a lot of money for her to marry him. Oh, okay. I'm hopping over to comments. What do you guys think it is? Oh, okay. So the previous one, when I was trying to guess what the coin was for, it was because Penelope's nickname that Niles gives her is Penny. Okay. All right. Awesome. Okay. So this one. All right. So the two guesses I'm seeing on this are either Seeking Persephone or Bachelor and the Bride. I could see it being either one, right? Okay. Oh, okay. Well, I don't know where the money comes in, but someone said maybe Friends and Foes because of the quizzing glass. I don't know. Okay, this one's kind of a mystery. I may pop back onto my social media and see who left this one and ask them what it is. Okay. Ooh, guys, I don't get stumped by these very often. That was a good one. All right, let's see what's next. Oh, okay, I know this one. All right, so the emojis we have on here are 2 stars and a cactus. I think this is Sheriffs of Savage Wells. Do you guys think that's it? Because the stars would be like sheriff's badges, and then the cactus puts us like in the desert, right? You think that's probably what it is? That's my guess. Okay, yeah, I'm seeing people agreeing with me. I think we got that one. Whew. I've redeemed myself after the last one that I couldn't figure out. I will go. I'll see if I can find who made that comment on social media and ask them, and then I'll post so everyone knows what it was that we were stumped by. Okay, one more. Okay, the emojis are a Band-Aid and a heart. Oh, okay. This is a like exact title emoji clue. It's healing hearts. I am sure of it. That's got to be what it is, right? The second of the Savage Wells books. I'm going to pop over and see if you guys agree. Yeah, that's what I'm seeing, healing hearts. Okay. Guys, we did it, except for that one we can't figure out. But I think it might be Seeking Persephone because the like eyebrow raise emoji looks kind of stern, which Adam is, right? So it could be that. And there was a lot of money involved in their engagement. So I will find out and let everybody know. Oh, man. All right. So yay, we're going to draw a winner from everyone who played along with the emoji game. If you're watching this after the fact, post your guesses as you watch because you'll still be entered. We're not going to draw those until tomorrow. All right. Ooh, okay. So what I have next on my agenda, I thought you guys might enjoy an excerpt from an upcoming book. What do you think? Let's check the comments and see if people are interested. What do you think? A little sneak peek at something that's coming up down the road. There we go. I'm going to pull it out. Okay, I got a yes. That's good enough for me. I just need one person to be excited. All right. So I debated because I have a couple of things coming up that I've already announced, and I could read something from those. I was trying to decide which one. So I decided I was going to read an excerpt from my most recently announced upcoming release, and that is the next Huntress's book. It's the third one. It's called The Best Kept Secrets, which I'm so stinking excited about, you guys. We did the title reveal 2 weeks ago, maybe, and we have a cover reveal coming up, I think, within the next 2 weeks. So very, very exciting. It's coming in May of next year. I'm going to read you just a little bit of the opening of that book. So here we go. All right, chapter 1, Tullylock, Ireland, December 1819. Eve O'Doyle was far too acquainted with chaos to be the least bothered by it. In fact, she felt right at home in the midst of a hubbub. Truth be told, she was usually at home when in the midst of a hubbub. Not even the kitchen at her family home was calm. The family's precarious finances had long ago emptied that room of the usual servants, employed in a home this size and by a family of the O'Doyles' perceived status. Mother had proven herself an adept cook, and Eve had taught herself to bake. So between the two of them, they'd saved the family a great deal of money. They were both undertaking those tasks when Nia, Eve's sister, who was only just younger than herself, stepped inside. I feel it important for the two of you to know that Edmund and Scuff are currently in the yard pretending to be chickens. Mother met Eve's eye and shook her head with a look that clearly said, those boys are nothing short of ridiculous. Did our two distinguished Shrewsbury lads explain just why they've chosen to imitate barnyard fowl? Eve asked. Nia shrugged as she approached the work table. All Scuff would tell me is that they were undertaking an experiment. Edmund then laughed in that way he always does when the two of them are about to shift from mischievous to someone should send a message of condolence to the king of the leprechauns because he is about to be dethroned as the world's most dangerously mischievous imp. Eve assumed a comically stern expression and looked to Mother once more. Remind yourself that you were eager to have them home from school. I had hoped they would return home the mature 16 and 14-year-old boys they are. Our brothers? Nia's expression twisted into one of overdone doubt. In a tone as mock-serious as Nia's, Eve said, I think Mother must be succumbing to a dreadful fever of some kind that is addling her mind. A very tragic turn of events, indeed. The entire family's suffering will be significant, I don't doubt, Nia sighed. There'll be a great deal of fainting. Mostly by her, Eve added solemnly, on account of the fever. Mother pointed a knife at them, but not menacingly. You two are as bad as the boys. Oh, no, Eve shook her head. We are far worse. Well, there you go. There's our opening, page and a half of the next Huntress's book. It's Eve O'Doyle, who we've met before. She is the barely older of the two Irish O'Doyle sisters. And it was revealed when we announced the title that the hero of this book is none other than Duke Seymour, who is a member of the pack. So those two are going to figure out that there's a little more between them than friends. Woo! So be very excited. It's a lot of fun. You're going to see a lot of familiar faces in this book and not just the Huntresses in the pack. There's a whole lot going on that I think you're going to enjoy. So Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. All right. Oh, okay. Sabrina's asking what their sisters' names are in Irish. Now, bearing in mind that I'm not actually Irish, so you're not going to get the 100% most accurate pronunciation. Their Irish names are Aoife, which is Eve's actual given name, and Niamh, which is Nia's name. So it varies a little depending on where in Ireland you are. And there's a subtle lilt to it that I can't do justice to because I'm not Irish. But yeah, Aoife and Niamh, essentially. So there you go. All right. So woohoo. And on the tails of that, I thought we'd play another game. What do you think? I'm calling it the Who Said It game, Snapdragons edition. I pulled a few quotes from the book and see if you guys can guess who it is that said each of these things. And we will pick I'm trying to remember if I do this during or after. I think it's an after thing. Yeah. We will come back and watch this feed after the fact and draw a random winner from amongst everyone who plays the Who Said It Snapdragons edition game. And that person is going to win, speaking of upcoming books, an advanced reader's copy of my March release, The Tides of Time, which is a brand new series for me. It's a time travel story. It takes us between Revolutionary France and Victorian England, and it's a rip-roaring good time. So we're going to give away an arc of that to someone who plays along with the Who Said It game that we're about to start. So here we go. And all of these are from the book Snapdragons, which may help you place them. I tried to pick ones I thought you could probably guess who they were, but we'll see. So here's our first one. Allow me to quickly tell you something about Niles Greenberry. He is stronger than he often seems, more capable than he is often given credit for, and more deserving of sincere connections than he is generally afforded. So who said that? Can you remember or can you guess? Bum, bum, bum. This is where you find out I'm not afraid to sit here awkwardly while you guys put in your guesses. Okay, I'm seeing lots and lots of guesses. Okay. And I'm seeing it kind of fluctuate between two characters. And these are the two I thought you guys would probably debate between. Because at some point in this book, both of these characters have a discussion with Penelope about how she ought to be treating Niles. The two characters are Aldrich and Violet. They both have this conversation. This comment comes from Aldrich, the general. He is making sure Penelope knows that she needs to be nice because they're all watching. Okay, let's see who the next one is. Okay, here's the quote. I know how to keep my mouth shut, sir. And for Lord Jonquil, who saved my life, I'll keep every secret he needs me to. This was a character I was dying for everyone to see in this book because I knew you wouldn't realize at first who it was. And then once you did, I hoped everyone would kind of lose their minds. Do we know who this was? Yeah, lots and lots and lots of guesses in there. All right, so you will remember in Charming Artemis, Digby is telling Charlie a bunch about the gents and about his dad. And he mentions that Wilson has known the gents at that point for like 30 years or something, like for a very, very long time. And he tells Charlie that Charlie's late dad, so Lucas, saved Wilson's life. And in this book, you get to actually see the moment he's talking about. So that happens in this book. I was so excited because I planned this like 20 years ago. So I finally got to write it, guys. So exciting. I wish I could have been with everyone while they were reading that moment and realized that was Wilson. And that's how he came to know the gents. So his connection to the Jonquil family goes way, 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 way back. So anyway, and you will remember in Charming Artemis, Charlie is kind of amazed that his dad once saved Wilson's life, and Digby's response is, well, Wilson later returned the favor. So keep your eyes peeled for that, guys. Awesome. All right. Okay, yay. This is a fun moment for me to kind of see from you guys what it was like to realize that was Wilson, and we finally got to meet him. There we go. Okay, here's your next quote. Niles, I do hope you can sort this out before it becomes a catastrophe. The rest of you, behave. So do you remember who that's from? All right, okay, I'm seeing guesses. Yay. Okay, so many guesses coming in. Fantastic. Okay, so people know who this is. This is Julia. She sent a letter with Lucas when he rushed to Yorkshire to help Niles, because she knew the gents would be like, Lucas, did you do something without thinking again? Is Julia going to be mad at you? So she sent a whole letter being like, no, I told him to go. Calm down. So, and I love that she's like, behave. I know you guys are going to cause trouble. So, yep, that was absolutely Julia. Okay, here's another one. This is to be laid at your feet because I was definitely bowsy. And bowsy is another word for drunk. That should help you out a lot. So who is it that said that? Erica says Julia, who's the real general. Yeah, I think Penelope might be the one who says that. Like, why isn't she called the general? Because she is kind of running the show, y'all. Too funny. All right. Oh, yep. Everyone's remembering this one. So yes, this is Digby. The very first chapter at Pledwick Manor. They're kind of regretting the plot they invented to try and get Niles out of this wedding. And it's clear that at least one of them was a little bit drunk at the time. So there you go. Yeah, that was Digby. Man, I love that guy. All right. Okay, I think I have one more. People can be extremely surprising. It is one of my favorite things about them. So, do you remember who said that? I'm going to see. Okay, yep, everyone remembers. It's popping up. Quite a few people do anyway. Fantastic. All right. So this one's a little bit tricky because while the character does legitimately say this, it is said in a memory, in a kind of a flashback. This was Stanley. I call him OG Stanley. This is the gent Stanley, not the Jonquil brothers Stanley. So yeah, OG Stanley, Julia's brother, Lucas's best friend, the guy who, along with Lucas, created the gents. This is Stanley. One of the reasons I love this line is because it's so him. It's one of the things he says that I think gives you such a great insight into him. And one of the reasons why he did so well putting together the gents, because he didn't pigeonhole people. He didn't decide that they could only be one thing or that they had to be what he expected them to be. He expected to be surprised in the best ways, and he so often was. And he gave the gents especially the freedom to be surprising and to be themselves, even in a society that frowned on that a lot. He was like, no, in this group, you get to be who you are. And they all loved each other. So yay. All right. Yay. I love it. Be Happy on YouTube is saying, we're talking about the gents. We know which Stanley. Yeah, this is an OG Stanley. The way back. All right. So we will go back through that game and pick someone at random who participated, and they're going to win that arc of Tides of Time, which is super duper exciting. And I got one more thing before we hop into Q&A. Many of you who have been following along on my social media know that we are in the midst of production for a movie adaptation of Seeking Persephone, which is super duper excited. I wrote the screenplay. One of the producers, been deeply involved in the making of this movie, and it is just chugging right along. We should be heading to England and not too much longer to do all of our on-location filming, which is so exciting. So I thought I would play a movie clip for you today. It's a real brief one. This one I think has been posted on my social media months and months ago, but I'm posting it now because we're going to play another little game with it. There is something in this scene that is an Easter egg from a different book. And I want to see if you guys can figure out what it is. So I'm going to have you guys go ahead and put your guesses in the comments. I'm not going to tell you the answer today. I will reveal the answer tomorrow, but I want you to see if you can spot it. And we will choose from amongst everyone who guesses someone who will win another arc of the Tides of Time. So I'm going to play you that movie clip, which I'm excited about, and see if you can figure out what it is. And then I will move on. We'll do some Q&A. So here we go.
She's in pain. I can't do a blasted thing about it. Haven't the first idea where to start. When Mother was distressed, she just left Falston. Persephone hasn't left yet. So what do I do?
Be a part of Seeking Persephone and invest with us on WeFunder. Ooh, did you guys catch it? It was very subtle. So you'll have to, if you didn't see it, you can always watch this stream back and go look again, but there's a fun little Easter egg in there. Leave your guesses and we'll give away that prize tomorrow. All of the winners from today will be posted tomorrow as a post on my social media. That's the only way we're going to announce it. So as always, be on the lookout for any kind of scammers or spammers, that kind of thing. So that'll get posted tomorrow. I will also do probably a very quick cutting room floor tomorrow, explaining what that Easter egg is. So there are quite a few throughout this movie. That's one of the fun things about having the author so deeply involved in the making of a movie is I can pop in so many Easter eggs, so many things, because I know the entire universe that this takes place in. So yay. All right. So I think that is the games that I had. Don't forget to continue participating because I'm still going to draw tomorrow a winner of our ultimate prize, these collector editions. Make a great Christmas present. Hint, hint, wink, wink. And we're going to pop on now. This is where the point where I usually do question and answer. So your Q&A can be about Snapdragons. It can be about Snowdrops and Winterberry. It can be about just about anything you want. If I am able to answer it and I see the question, I will. So let's jump right into it. What are some questions that you guys have? Oh, and I saw a comment that Jake is the perfect Duke of Kildare. 100%. When he was first in consideration for the role, I did a Jake Stormone deep dive. Went and watched a ton of the stuff that he had done just to make sure he had acting chops, and he did. That concern was put to rest very quickly. And then just kind of getting to know who he was and getting to talk with him about how he saw the character and how, his feelings about it. I was like, this is perfect. We could not do any better. So yeah, very, very, very excited. And I am so excited to get back to filming. I've missed it. I have been anxious for it. And the rest of the filming we get to do on location. So we're going to be in actual castles, in actual forests over in the UK, in the general area that the book takes place. It's going to be fantastic. Okay, so here we go. Amy's wondering if we're going to get Finbar's story next year. Finbar's story is currently with its editor. So my hope is to have it out before the end of next year. So yeah, keep your fingers crossed. It's written, it's in the editing stages. So fingers crossed. Heidi wants to know if the people on the covers are usually how I picture the characters and how involved am I in picking them. I don't know that they necessarily look just like I would imagine the characters to look. I don't always have a super, super precise view of them in my brain. I can sometimes tell when someone doesn't look like I'd expect them to, but I don't usually have a specific face in mind. So we try to at least get them to kind of match generally and be the right general age and look and all of that. As to how involved I am, I'm more involved than I used to be. Early on, I didn't get much of a say in my covers, but I am allowed to be part of that process a lot more than I used to be, which I appreciate because we're able to get covers that are better fits than they used to be. So yeah, more than I used to. Edie's wondering how long before we get to read all of the gent stories. If all goes to plan, you should have another gent story next year, and then the final installment the year after that. So cross your fingers. I always say if it goes to plan because things get weird. Now, Angela wants to know, how do I come up with fictional names for titles and places while making them still sound like they belong? The titles that I give my characters and like house names and estate names all come from the areas where they're set. I will pull place names from a particular area where I am placing this family and use that place name as the title. I will take a village in the area and make that a title. I also spend a lot of time reading census records and baptismal records and burial records and marriage records from these areas, and I pull surnames from there. So they're all very grounded in history. For example, we have the Duke of Kildare. I pulled that name from the fact that in that area of Northumberland, we have Kildare Forest and Kildare Water, which is a big lake in that forest. Kildare Castle is up that way. It isn't actually a castle, but that's what it's called. So that's where his title came from. But I didn't want his house to be Kildare Castle because there is one already. So there is a village not far from Kildare Forest that is Falston is the name of the village. So that's where I pulled his title from. So I tend to pull them from the area, and that works out really, really well. Liz is asking, you said that you had planned Wilson's story a long time ago. Did you plan Digby's story a long time ago as well? Or is he going to reveal himself to you as you write? I feel like we know quite a bit of small clues already. Yeah, I planned out all of the gents stories quite a long time ago because they play such a role in the Jonquil brothers stories. Even though it's all behind the scenes, I had to know who they were and what their lives were and what their expertise were. So yeah, I know Digby's story. I've known it for a really, really, really long time. His is very, very interesting, and I think you guys are going to really, really enjoy it. Jenny wants to know, how old were each of Julia's boys when Lucas died? Philip was 19, which would have made Leighton 18. The twins would have been, I think, 16. Stanley probably 14. Harold, I think, 11. And Charlie was 8, I think, 8 or 9, somewhere in there. Don't 100% quote me on that. The only one I'm absolutely sure of is Philip. I know he was 19. So they were young. Some of them very, very, very young. Okay, I have a question. Will there be more gents cameos and best kept secrets? Yes. Yes, 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 yes. It is revealed in The Best of Friends that Colm Greenberry, who is the son of Penelope and Niles, is cousins with Duke Seymour. So there's a connection there. And Best Kept Secrets is Duke's book. So just know that there are connections back into the gents there. So loo. Whitney says, do you know off the top of your head which Jonquil brother is about the same age as Colm? Stanley. They're pretty close to the same age. Let's see. Maddie, which part of the movie making process has surprised you the most? This shouldn't surprise me, but it kind of does. What has really surprised me is how much work it is. Like, not that I expected it not to be work, but the amount of time and effort that goes into it that never gets seen by anyone, because I wrote the screenplay, but I'm also an executive producer. So I'm involved in all of the business aspects of it. Literally every moving part involved, I have some connection to. So how many moving parts there and how much work it is, that has really surprised me. I also have been really surprised in the best way at how fun some of the aspects of it are. Being on set was absolutely amazing. Like, that was, I expected it to be really interesting, which it was. I'd hoped it would be really fun, but it was unbelievably fun. I loved that. Of course, I got to sit in my little chair and watch. I didn't have to do all of the hard work. So I really enjoyed that. Okay. Heidi is saying, obviously, Philip was strongly influenced by Digby, but was he inspired by the Scarlet Pimpernel? Not directly. Philip's character and his backstory and his spy work is based heavily on actual Napoleonic War era spies from the British upper class. There were quite a few of them who were constantly sort of mining the upper class for information. There were so many connections between the British aristocracy and the British tone and the French upper class and aristocracy and those who had power in France that it was a good place to get information. Plus, people on that rung of society stood to make a lot of money off of things like smuggling and getting around embargoes and stuff. So they would use members of the upper class to kind of get information. But the best way to do that was to give the impression that you were totally innocuous, like you couldn't possibly be someone who could use information against them. So they'd either play dumb, they'd play grumpy, they'd play fancy and flittery to quell any suspicions. And Philip, who already kind of had a flair for fashion and drama and had the benefit of Digby and Wilson to help him perfect that persona, leaned into that like many spies of the time did. So that's where that came from. It came straight out of history. All right, Kristen wants to know, do you know what flowers you're going to use for each gent's title before writing, or does it come as you're writing? I know what all of them are. They have all already been revealed, actually, but in a very sneaky way. They were, all laid out way back. Not even in the Gents series, they were laid out, but they've all been revealed. So you'll get to see them. I know what they all are, chose them on purpose. But yeah, if you go back and look through previous books in this universe, you'll actually find them all. So, woohoo. Okay. Here we go. Okay, Sabrina's asking, is it pronounced the way I said it, Falston or Falstone? I said Falstone for years until we started the Seeking Persephone movie, and we did a shortened table read with the cast who were part of the in-studio filming. We just read through their scenes, and we were, 2 seconds into the table read, and Toby Alexander Smith, he's our actor who plays Harry, who's, actually British, stopped it and said, you guys need to know it's not pronounced Falstone, it's Falston. And we all went, so it's Falston is the way it's pronounced. So yeah, that was something I learned. I was pronouncing it like an American. Finally heard the way it's pronounced if we were actually from the area, and now I say it right. So Falston. Who knew, right? Okay. Kelsey wants to know what made me decide to make Puppy a boxer. Knowing that he was always very small and always very quiet, but also was really forging his own path. He decided not to go to Oxford like the rest of his family. He went to Cambridge instead. I knew he was going to push back against having an arranged marriage. I knew he was going to be trying to make his own way in the world. I realized very, very early on he had to be the kind of person who found a way to survive when the odds were stacked against him. And being the size he was in these schools that could be kind of notorious for being for bullying and for fighting and this sort of thing, I knew he needed to know how to fight from very early on. It's the only way he would have really survived, but it also shows that he's willing to do what he needs to forge his own path. So it just fit who he was under the surface. But the fact that he'd have to do it in secret and in hiding also fit the idea that people just don't notice him and don't see him for who he is because it's all so hidden. So it just really fit with him. Okay. So Christine wants to know, did Wilson become Philip's valet right after Lucas died? I'm trying to decide if that will ever come up in a book because I don't want to give it away if it will. So I guess my answer is going to be, I know the answer to that, but I don't know if I can tell you. What's that for ridiculous? Okay. Here we go. I'm just skimming through. Okay, people are remembering there are flowers in Charming Artemis that are at Briar Hill in Lucas's flower garden. Yeah, go look there. Those are some clues to things. Sabrina's saying now I'm desperate to know what else I've mispronounced while reading. Oh, I know. That's one of the things about being a reader is there are so many words that we see but never hear, and so you don't even know if you're saying them wrong. Oh my gosh. Let's see, what else do we have in here? Oh, Liz says Digby is my favorite. I love what we know about him already. And one of my favorite things about writing series of this style, where it's a group of people and each one is the main character of a different book, is that we get to know them all in the course of it. But you also can have a character who was hugely important in a previous book. I mean, the main character, and they can be in another book without it having to be their book. Even though they were so important previously, they don't have to be the most important character anymore, but they don't lose any of their importance. It just builds. Everyone just becomes more and more crucial to each other. I love that about this style of series. We get to not just check back in with characters, but the importance they gained in their own book adds to the depth of the books they're in later on, but they don't have to take over a book in order to be in it, even though they once were super important to a story. So yeah, I love that. Okay. Let's see what else we have. Oh, Erica wants to know if, and I'm assuming this is Niles, our boxer, gives the Dangerous Duke some tips. We know that Adam gets taught how to box by the stable staff at the at Falston Castle. But yeah, he does actually also get some tips and some support in various areas of his life from the gents. He knows them. There's a line, I think it's in Charming Artemis, where Adam says something to the effect of Digby has always been the king. Like it's this reference to the fact that Adam 100% knows who these people are and so much about their interactions. Okay. Sabrina wants to know, what was a favorite, funny, or interesting piece of information you found while researching Niles' story? Researching about pugilism, one of the things I found very interesting, and I didn't know this when I first set out, so I had to change some things toward the end of the book, was that at this time it wasn't against the rules in bare knuckle boxing to grab your opponent by the hair and just hold them while pounding them. So most boxers would shave their head, or at least cut their hair really close in order to keep that from happening. So I knew Niles was going to have to shave his head, or at least cut his hair real close. And I thought, now what do we do? He has to go back home and not reveal the fact that he's been boxing. So I had to figure out what to do about that, and realized for sure Digby would have wigs, because not long before this, wigs was just what everyone wore. So I had to think that through. But the idea that it was not against the rules to hold someone by the hair and then beat them to a pulp just kind of drove home to me how gruesome this sport really was at the time. Jenny says, when do both Julia's and Lucas's parents die? She's kind of confused by it. Julia's mother died before she and Lucas were married. So she's been gone since before Forget Me Not. Lucas's parents are still alive when they get married. When Lucas and Julia are married, they are still alive at this point in the gents' books. They will have passed away obviously by the time we get to Friends and Foes, because if they hadn't, then Philip would not have inherited the title from his father. So they are not dead yet at this point in the gents' book, but they have all passed away by the time we get to the Jonquil brothers. So there you go. Oh, Liz is asking about my lapel pin. Is it an Easter egg for the next flower? These are actually jonquils. So there you go. Ooh la la. Angela is saying, I said in my podcast back when we did the Between the Lines podcast that I have questions I ask about my characters before I start writing, and she's wondering what kinds. It's everything from what do they look like and how old are they and where did they grow up, to things like, what is their favorite childhood memory? What is their deepest regret? One is if they could, like, basically, if they were looking into the mirror of Erised, from the Harry Potter universe, what would they see? So what is their most desperate desire? What's the thing they long for the most? What is their greatest fear? What did they imagine their life would be like at this point, and how is it different? So it's everything from very surface to very deep. So lots and lots and lots of questions. Let's see. Sabrina wants to know who I'm excited to write about next. I love them all. I'm always excited to hit whoever is next in line because I've been building up to their story. So the next Huntresses, I have 2 more Huntresses books written. So the one after that I'm excited about. I have the next Gents book is done. So I'm excited to write the one after that. I have already started a 3rd time travel. So I'm excited about that. I don't know. I'm always excited to delve deeper into these stories I have kind of swimming in my brain. So fantastic. Kelsey says, do I have a favorite gent, or is it like picking a favorite child and you love them all equally? I like to jokingly say it'd be easier to pick a favorite child than a favorite character. I mostly say that because it makes my kids look at me like I'm being mean, because I don't actually mean it. No, I don't really have a favorite. I always love the one that I'm currently writing about because I'm so deep in their mind and their hopes and their heart. But no, I love them all. All right. Oh, Stacey says, I can't believe how fast you write. Sometimes I can't either. I write quickly out of desperation, really. Jenny wants to know, now that you're making a movie, are the actors becoming the characters as you imagined them? I can say 100% of the actors who I have seen actually play their parts on screen nail it. I mean, it's perfect. There are times when I would watch on the screen as they're acting, and there are points when I'm crying, not because the scene itself is sad, but because it's so mind-blowing how much it is these characters who've lived in my heart and in my mind for 20 plus years literally coming to life on the screen. It's mind-boggling. You guys will watch the movie and think, how in the world did they pull this off? Because that's literally how it feels. You think it's perfect. It's perfect. And the on location where we're going to be is so bafflingly perfect. I can't even wait for you guys to see this movie. It's going to be absolutely amazing. Yeah. Okay, Rachel says that's a lot of books really close together. Yeah, and there is even another brand new series I haven't told you about that's going to be announced not too much longer. So yeah, there's lots and lots and lots and lots. Heidi says, my daughter, whose name happens to be Athena, reminds me so much of little Artemis. Are any of the characters inspired by your friends or family? Absolutely. I steal character traits from family and friends all the time. And then you add more things to them and you blow them up and you make them more dramatic. Little Caroline Jonquil and little Artemis Lancaster borrowed very heavily from my daughter when she was that age. So that was fun to pull. There's lots of me in all of my characters. There's some bits of my husband that are there. Sometimes it's just from sitting out in public and watching people. I'll pick up on a mannerism or a quirk and you write it down and use that. So yeah, I steal all the time. Kelsey is saying, do we know when the Seeking Persephone movie will be released? We don't. It'll depend on when filming gets wrapped. I'll have a much better idea of when that's going to happen once we have absolutely locked down filming dates. So I will make sure everyone knows when we have a little more information about that. Okay, I try to keep this to right about an hour, so I think I have time for one more question. And we'll see if I can grab one on here. So yeah, like I said, I have a bunch of books probably coming out next year. We've only announced 2 of them. So watch my social media. I'll put plenty of it up there. Brand new things, things that are not even announced yet, as well as new installations in series 1. Question I get a lot, which I'll just end it with this, is when I'm done with the Gents and with the Huntresses, what's the plan for the Jonquil Lancaster Gents Huntresses universe? When I first started writing the Lancasters and the Jonquils, I knew I wanted to just make it this expansive universe where you get to see these families and people weaving in and out of each other's lives and how they all influence each other. And I knew to do that with any degree of consistency, I was going to have to plan it out pretty far. So I have the Jonquils and Lancaster's children. I know their stories. I know what they grew up to be and who they grew up to marry. And I know their children and I know their children. So I can go back to the generation before the gents and I can go 3 generations after the Jonquils and Lancasters. So the next series I'm hoping to jump into in this universe would be the Jonquils and Lancasters kids, which will be really fun because that takes us into the very early Victorian era, which is really, really, really fun. So that's the hope. Everyone cross your fingers. That's what we're hoping to pull off. All right. Okay, well, don't forget to leave your comments if you're joining us after the stream. Please put them in there. We will have this giveaway along with all of the rest of our prizes. We'll announce those winners on my social media tomorrow. And I think I'm going to do a cutting room floor where I will tell you what that Easter egg was in the movie clip. So thank you, everyone, for joining us for Book Club of Book Clubs. It is always so much fun. I know it's a little bit tough doing it this week. Those of you who are in the United States, this is a holiday week. A lot of people are traveling. I didn't want to push it into December because it gets even more hectic, but I wanted to make sure we did it for this book. So fantastic. I think we'll reconvene in March for Tides of Time. What do you think? Fantastic. I hope you enjoyed the book. Thanks for joining us tonight. Watch those prize winners tomorrow. Thanks, guys.